every year we come together to decide what are the best video games of that year. Will it be some unknown RPG that no one's ever heard of, or some game-breaking first-person shooter that just changed the whole formula? Today we'll be taking a look and deciding which nominees are going to end up winning in their category and which ones are just going to end up falling flat. But without further ado, of course, let's hop right into it. Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, we got the VGA nominees today, and we're just going to be looking through the different categories to see what games have been nominated. Really, the whole idea for this recording is that I just kind of want to predict what I believe will be the winner, but even if my predictions are wrong, which we'll come back to once the award show actually, takes place, it doesn't really matter to me. I just want to have some fun and actually talk about the games that came out this year. But without further ado, let's just hop right into it. So for Game of the Year, the very first category, as you can see with the whole VGA website, I think you can view all the categories and things of that nature. We got the Player's Choice stuff that opens, on these dates. But Game of the Year, recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical field. Personally, I haven't heard of Balatro, I don't know how to say that. The only thing I really know about it is that it is a gambling game, and I only know that from like a meme that I saw briefly on like Reddit or something. And again, I've never heard of it. Beyond that, I've never seen any gameplay, so I'm not going to speak on that. Following Balatro, we have Astrobot, which for whatever reason I decided to go out of order. I never played Astrobot. I never played it. From the gameplay that I saw, I mean, it looked cool. I saw the different like costumes that you could have on the little robot guy. I think I saw a 2B outfit. Or something from the Nier Automata game, and I thought that was pretty funny. But otherwise, I don't really know too much about the game outside of it being a platformer, which is definitely a game that, or I guess like a genre that is outside of my purview as a gamer. It didn't really seem to like grab me or pop out to me. I know a lot of people, this is their game of the year, but because I never played it, I'm not gonna vote for it. That's just, right off the bat. Black Myth Wukong by Game Science. Yeah, so I think visually it's a very stunning game. I watched plenty of gameplay on it. It's kind of got some Souls-like mixed with the new God of War sort of style of gameplay going for it. And I think that that's cool, and I think that that's interesting. But for me, a game of the year, it not only has to be visually impressive, and even then, it doesn't necessarily have to be visually impressive, but the gameplay, and most importantly for me, the story has to be gripping. And hopefully those two things can mesh well. And for me, I think the gameplay is there, but the story is not. Whereas like something like Shadow of the Erdtree or just Elden Ring in general, you've got like a lot of lore that is not, even as like a casual gamer, I feel like if you stay in the setting long enough, you'll pick up on. And there's this good gameplay to kind of like match with that exciting sort of lore hunting side of things. With Black Myth Wukong, I feel like it doesn't balance those two things all that well. And so for me, Black Myth Wukong also unfortunately not going to be my game of the year. But yeah, so moving on to Shadow of the Erdtree from, of course, FromSoft, which apparently might be getting bought by Sony or something. I don't know. I saw something where like FromSoft might be getting bought by someone. Either way, a lot of people have been very upset that Shadow of the Erdtree is even being nominated for Game of the Year, given the fact that it's a DLC. And though I understand it being an expansion, it's not its own full game, technically, I think the amount of content that you have in Shadow of the Erdtree speaks for itself. At least for me, that was like a 40-hour experience, and that's more than what a lot of games are even offering nowadays. If you look at something like let's say Spider-Man 2 from Insomniac, I beat that in like probably about 25 to 30 hours. I think it was about 25, like closer to that 25 range. And so to get like a little under double that from just a DLC, they could have slapped Elden Ring 2 on top of that thing. I think people still would have treated it as such. Now, I think narratively, there isn't as much depth as there was in just like the Elden Ring base game, of course, but I don't think Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree should be counted out just because it is a DLC and it's an expansion because we got Phantom Liberty, which was nominated. We got the Witcher 3 Blood and Wine DLC, which was nominated. I even think we got like an XCOM expansion or something that was nominated at some point in the past. So for me personally, I'm not going to count Shadow of the Erdtree out just because it's a DLC. That may make a lot of people upset. I do think that there should be a separate DLC category. I think a lot of people would be happy with that. I gotta say, Shadow of the Erdtree, it's still in the running for me, right? And I'll kind of pick once I talk about all of these things. But next we have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I almost said remake. Now, listen, I played this game. I completed it all the way through. I don't think I 100%ed it, but that's just because I didn't want to like replay any sections or anything, because it is a meaty, chunky, just beast of a game, right? Personally, my thoughts on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is that, and this is kind of going back to Shadow of the Erdtree, I really don't think Rebirth should be in the running if Shadow of the Erdtree isn't going to be in the running, given the fact that Rebirth is technically just the second part of one game, right? They just chopped it up, you know, into 3 different playable experiences. Anyway, moving past that whole talking point, I think Rebirth as a whole has fantastic gameplay. It builds on Remake in a way that is not completely changing the formula again, but it is heightening that experience that you got with Remake. You know, all of the systems and mechanics, what didn't work, it seems like they left out at the cutting room floor, and what did work, it seems that they've polished quite a bit, and that's something that I really appreciate with Rebirth. The issue for me is not actually the gameplay, it is the amount of content that they pack into this game. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that it is a Ubisoft level collectathon or anything like that. I think that's a little unfair to say that, because Ubisoft, it honestly feels like they don't even really care about their games in a lot of cases, or the games that they put out. But anyway, that I just have a whole vendetta against Ubisoft. More to my point, I feel that Rebirth, just narratively, it gripped me, then it lost me. It gripped me, then it lost me.
What?
Stop. What do you mean by that?
You know, there were so many points where I was just like, okay, like, I just want to get through the game. You know, I just want to get to the end. And I feel like any game that I'm playing, you know, maybe it's just the fact that I've gotten older, or the fact that I have a deeper respect for my own personal time. I want my video games to get to the point, or to at least be so fun that I don't realize how long I'm spending in them. And I feel like with Rebirth, there were so many moments where I was just like, I just need to scratch this off the list. I don't actually care about what I'm doing. I just want to get to the next part of the game, because and this is coming from someone, I never played the original. I think I might have played the intro sequence of the OG Final Fantasy VII. And so for me, looking at Rebirth as this newcomer, basically not a newcomer to the property of Final Fantasy, but just a newcomer to 7 specifically, it just lacks, at least to me, what a lot of those OG Final Fantasy games that I love had. And that is a narrative that kind of, you almost like fall over yourself wanting to see through. You want to see what happens to Cecil after he abandons being this dark knight and becomes a paladin, right? And so I think in that way, that's where the game loses me. And so, especially at the end, it wasn't really an issue for probably like the first like 60% of the game. After that though, it just kind of narratively, it does a lot. It tries to do a lot. And I don't know if I necessarily appreciate it as much as a lot of people, and I love Final Fantasy. So yeah, anyway, that's kind of my whole spiel on that. Unfortunately, I will say now, it will not be my game of the year. And then we have Metaphor, a game that I'm currently playing. I don't even know if you guys can see the little icon here. I just actually opened the game, oops, my bad. But also ignore Corey Coleman's face in the corner. Yeah, so basically I'm playing through Metaphor right now, and as it stands, I can't choose it as my game of the year, right? Because I have not beaten it. That's how I feel. I'm not gonna vote a game of the year whenever I haven't completed that game. I never played Astrobot, so I'm not gonna vote for it. I never played Balatro, so I'm not gonna vote for it. Same thing with Black Myth Wukong. And so really these 3 were the only ones that like I had to go off of. And for me, I do think Metaphor, from a artistic and gameplay perspective, probably outdoes just about every game in the field. right now. I think it's a phenomenal game, frankly. What I have experienced of the story and of the game, I'm excited to play more, but I think it is so much of an Atlas game, and this happens with every Atlas game that I play, that it's my own fault that I haven't completed it now. But there were a couple points over the last couple weeks where I play Metaphor for a good amount of time, probably about an hour or so, but then that's it. Over the next 2 days, I don't pick it up, and I play something else for, between those 2 days, a total of 3 or 4 hours.
And now it's time to finish this. Fidel, join me.
There's...
I'm on it.
Was I supposed to be able to dodge that?
Yeah.
A final blow.
That's what a... And maybe that's just a byproduct of me being busy and not having as much time to game like I used to, and just like no life a game like I did with Persona 5 Royal or something like that. But either way, Metaphor, on concept alone, I think it is probably the game that I was the most excited to play this year. Right now, as I'm kind of in I feel like a middle section of the game, I don't know if I would say it's my game of the year, but I do feel like with where the story is going and how the game is kind of building, and I haven't even gotten to the cool, crazy stuff yet, I do think it could have possibly been my game of the year. But right now, I've got to cast my vote for Shadow of the Erdtree. So yeah, guys, with that said, I cast my vote for Shadow of the Erdtree. My prediction, as over the next couple weeks, honestly, I feel like Astrobot probably is going to end up being game of the year. Anyway, next category, best game direction. Now, I'm not going to harp on every game for another 20 minutes like I just did. So we're just gonna go right through this. Awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. So Astrobot, I think, honestly, is probably the most likely winner. So in my mind, the only games that reasonably have a shot in the dark winning in this category is probably Astrobot and Metaphor, in terms of creative vision and innovation with gaming systems and things like that. I feel like Elden Ring it's just honestly another FromSoft, Souls-like game. It doesn't really do a whole lot to break the wheel or, anything like that. Black Myth Wukong is kind of in that same category, but I think it's more, if you were a casual gamer, it's probably more accessible than Elden Ring. Again, I never played Balatro, so I can't really speak on it, but from what I've seen of Astrobot, I do think there's a reason why people love the game, so my prediction is that Astrobot is probably going to win best game direction or Metaphor. As for Final Fantasy VII, it just kind of built on the first game. I don't think it really did anything overtly crazy as far as innovation or game direction. I think the biggest thing is probably the mini games. I like mini games in video games if they are fun within themselves. Gwent, a masterpiece. You catch me playing Gwent all day, every day. I can't think of another one, but there are a ton of other games where the mini games within them are so fun to me that I will just play this game within another game for hours. And so I don't really think Final Fantasy VII hits that for me so much with the mini games. I think the fact that you can drive the buggy around is pretty cool, but it's not really that crazy. So yeah, Astrobot is kind of my pick for that, or my prediction rather. So we'll just have to see how that goes. Best narrative for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game. We got Silent Hill 2, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, Metaphor, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So here's my thing. I never played Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. I love Yakuza. I think it's a fantastic soap opera-y franchise. The best way for me to describe Yakuza to someone who has very limited experience with it is a series of soap operas, Japanese soap operas made for men, which a lot of people may get mad at me for saying that, but I'm a big fan of the Yakuza games. And to me, that's just kind of how they're written. I feel that way, at least. There's definitely a sense of, male fantasy injected into the franchise. And I think that that's, cool. I think it's cool that there are these positive games that dudes can play that are also telling really good stories that are kind of wacky at times and like not overly serious, but it's still something that you can sink your teeth into. And even if you're not a dude playing these games, you know, there's something redeemable in them. There's something that's like fun and exciting, and there's this richness to the storytelling that I don't really think you can find in other games nowadays. So the fact that, like, you know, we still have Yakuza games, I think is a great thing, but I never played this one. I heard it was fantastic. I did play the last one where they introduced Ichiban as a protagonist, and I think that that was a good game. I do think I like Yakuza 0 a little bit better story wise, but gameplay wise, I definitely like Yakuza Like a Dragon a ton. As for Metaphor, you know, the story is good, but I do feel like it's kind of generic as it stands. You know, you're just this kid who's trying to become king. And though you were trying to become king for different reasons than might typically be, you know, expressed in like, you know, another type of narrative or something like that, it is a very anime sort of cliche story to me, and I don't think that's bad, but I don't think it's really doing anything groundbreaking, at least not so far. Again, I haven't reached the end of the game, so I can't really speak on where that might go. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, I never played the first game, but I do know that it is very haunting, to say the least, and not in like necessarily a deeply spooky or scary way. I think the second game builds on that from what I've seen, you know, seeing the reviews for it and how people discuss the narrative. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this wins in this category, just given not only the subject matter, but the fact that it is written in such a intentional way. There's Silent Hill 2. I don't really know the story for Silent Hill 2, so I can't really speak on that, but I do think that the last one here being Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I'm probably gonna catch a lot of, and it's gonna seem like I hate the game, but I don't. I really don't. I do think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, just like the whole remake series overall, I think it was a bad idea for them to split it up into 3 games. I think they just shouldn't have released it if they weren't going to do one game. And I know it's a lot of content, they're packing it full, and they want each part to feel like its own standalone game, but I do think that that really does hurt the narrative. It's not always the best idea to break up a story and then release it years later, like in bits and pieces, and I think that's what we have here. For me, this is the weakest out of the lineup. I would say like it's the narrative that I had the least amount of fun with personally. The only one that I don't know if it is better than is Silent Hill 2, just because I don't really know anything about Silent Hill 2. I do know about the other 3 games. I do know quite a bit about the narratives and what happens in the game and just like the general direction. And having played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I don't really think that it's like outclassing these other games. I'm gonna be honest. I think the narrative was just very kind of all over the place, given the fact that it encompasses arguably the most like stale part of Final Fantasy VII. You're just bouncing from town to town looking for Sephiroth. And I know a lot of people love what they did with that concept in Rebirth. Personally, I don't think that holds a candle to Senua's Saga. I don't think it holds a candle to Metaphor. I don't think it holds a candle to Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. And as for Silent Hill, I don't know enough about it to even speak on that, but I don't think it's winning. My prediction is that Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 is going to win in this category. The canon event of the video game awards, it's got to be Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. Probably what's more likely is that it'll be Metaphor or Silent Hill 2, just because they're more popular. In fact, I don't even think that's the case. I do think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is probably going to win Best Narrative, just because, again, people freak out for Final Fantasy VII. And so my prediction is that that will be the winner of Best Narrative. Taking a look at Best Art Direction for outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. Right off the bat, I don't think it's Astrobot. I don't think it's Black Myth Wukong. I don't think it's Shadow of the Erd Tree, but I like the grimdark aesthetic. I think it's really cool. Even from this art, Neva, I don't know. I've never learned how to say it. Sorry, that was bad. Just from like even this still image, or like this cover of the game, Neva, it looks cool. It's got these pretty colors. It's got this striking imagery. What is up with that wolf in the back? Is it a cloud? Is it a wolf? Why does it have antlers? Or are those trees? I don't really know. But either way, it makes me want to find out. As for a game that I've actually played, Metaphor, I do think it's got that Atlas sauce. You know, what else can be said about that? It's got that Atlas sauce. And the fact that not only do they build on their visual style, but it's a lot less jarring to me than it was in other games. My first time playing Persona Persona 5. I will say, though, I did grow to love the art direction as almost every Persona 5 fan does. I do think that it was almost like too much. And then like I had to like let it simmer in my brain. And maybe that's just because I never played a game like that before. But for me, Metaphor really does cement itself as a visually stunning game when it comes to the UI and menus. Now, I will say for the overworld, some of the textures can look a little, the textures can look a little bland. And I do think that is the biggest thing holding it back, because in Shadow of the Erdtree, the textures don't look that bland. They don't look, you know, muted or stale or like just repeating or anything like that. And I think Black Myth Wukong, the more I think of it, is also just a very visually stunning game. So I really don't know who'd win best art direction. I don't think it's Astrobot though. I will say that much. But honestly, I mean, yeah, taking a look at Neva, it is a very striking game visually, but it is very minimal in its art direction. And a lot of the palette is kind of in the same of the like crayon box, basically. And so, and that's, you know, I'm not saying it looks bad or anything, but I do think in this category, it's more of a toss-up and it's more of like a personal preference, I think, for a lot of people. But I could see it being any one of these four. I don't think it's Astro. But to not cop out of giving an answer, I would say that my game, or the game that I believe has the best art direction, I think it's gotta be probably Metaphor as a game that I've played. Best score and music for outstanding music, inclusive of score, original song, and or licensed soundtrack. I don't even know if I said that right, but I don't care, dog, because you already know I gotta give it to Metaphor. Bangers. And here's the thing, I actually didn't like the soundtrack at first. When the game first opens, I'm like, bro, is straight yodeling in my ear. I can't even focus on what they're saying. This music is crazy. When Gallica is like, oh yeah, music was the first magic to ever exist. And then like, Shawty started playing those sick beats. At first I was like, ugh. But then I was like, ugh. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, I do think Metaphor has the best score and music. That's my opinion. I think Stellar Blade is probably up there. I've heard some music from Stellar Blade. I cannot wait to play it. I haven't gotten the chance to. Honestly, that's a game that I'm gonna have to play when my girlfriend is out of the room. And I do think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has some pretty good music too. But I don't really, there's nothing that I like just overwhelmingly recall. So I gotta go with Metaphor on that one. Best audio design, recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design. I'm gonna be honest, I think it's gotta go to Final Fantasy VII. And here's the thing, because I do think it's kind of spotty. I think the voice acting in the game, I don't like the voice direction of a specific character. I don't like the voice direction of a specific character. I don't even know if that's necessarily what this category encompasses, but overall, I do think the sound design is really good. I didn't play Black Ops 6. I'm not gonna play Black Ops 6. Sorry for y'all out there. Y'all can have fun with that. Schlock if y'all want to. It ain't for me, you know. I'm not 10 years old anymore, but I've heard some good things about Senua's Saga and like the sound design and also Silent Hill 2. I think ultimately I got to give it to Rebirth. Then we got, best performance awarded to an individual for voice acting or for voiceover acting, motion and or performance capture. Now, I can tell you who it's not going to be. Humberly Gonzalez. Sorry. You're out. Hannah Tella? I mean, either way, I guess I gotta tell her no. She ain't it. That was so bad. I'm sorry. Anyway, Melina Juergens. I think she's got a pretty solid like run as far as this category goes. Luke Roberts, I didn't really play enough Silent Hill 2 to really know. I didn't play any Silent Hill 2 for that matter. And I don't really remember his performance from any of the trailers that I can think of. And Brianna White, unfortunately, though I hope your YouTube career prospers and your voice acting career takes you to many places, I don't hope to be in many of those places. And I'm gonna just leave it at that. Melina Juergens, I think it's who I gotta go with on this one. Because I've heard those clips of the newest Saga Hellblade 2. Fire. Straight fire. And having played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I mentioned before that there is a performance that I did not like distinctly. And as someone who knows voice acting, you know, I've done voice work before. And, you know, it's not on a professional level, so I'm not going to sit here and say, like, I'm the eye in the sky when it comes to, like, basically delegating my opinion on this kind of stuff. You know, good performance is a good performance, whether I like it or not. I do think Brianna White had the worst performance out of the main cast when it comes to that game. I don't know. The direction that they're giving Aerith in the English version of Final Fantasy VII, like the remake series. In both games, it has been the part of the game that has like bothered me the most. I can honestly say. It's like there always comes a point where I'm like, Aerith, please stop talking. Because it's like it's too sweet, it's too it's very like saccharine, and like I don't know, there's just something about it. It rubs me the wrong way, it grates me. And I think Brianna White is a great person. I genuinely did watch her YouTube videos way back when, probably around the time I was like in my junior year of high school, senior year of high school. Not so much anymore these days, just because, you know, I'm watching other folks. Shout out Tommy G. But as it stands now, when it comes to her voice work, it's like hit or miss for me. Some lines I think are phenomenal. Other lines, I'm like, y'all should have given her a different direction. As far as innovation and accessibility goes, recognizing software and or hardware that is pushing the medium forward by adding features, technology, and content to help games be played and enjoyed by an even wider audience. So, I don't know about Diablo 4. I don't know about Prince of Persia, if we can call it that, with that Killmonger cut that he got. And I don't know about Star Wars Outlaws. But I do know about Dragon Age The Veilguard. Because one of the homies, he didn't force me to get up on the game. But I knew that he was very interested in The Veilguard. And off of that, I was like, you know what? I want to see what all the hype's about. I want to see what all the controversy's about. And I was actually going to make a video about it, but I decided not to. I feel like I don't really want that kind of content on my channel. Either way, Dragon Age The Veilguard, for me, probably is the most accessible game in the bunch. And I know a lot of people are going to be upset about that. Trust me, I'm not someone, I don't even care about Dragon Age. Dragon Age is a franchise that I stopped caring about probably when I was like 16. When Inquisition came out, I was excited for it as a 13-year-old, you know. But like after that game came out, and my boy Raven Crossing and I think I watched him play a little bit. We were super into it at the time. I know that there was an anime that was really bad that we tried to watch at one point. For me, Dragon Age just isn't a franchise that I care about. I don't think it's really written all that well. I don't really like the lore. I think the settings kind of not really that great. And that's beyond the game. You know, that's just more me like nitpicking stuff. But, you know, I gotta give credit where it's due. I do think Dragon Age of Veilguard is probably, out of this list of games, from what I've heard, is the most accessible game. And I do think it's probably, this is the category where it's got the best shot of, you know, getting a W. I think I've got to take it away from Prince of Persia, just off that haircut though. And this is something, I'm not gonna make a video on it, but I will talk about it from time to time. Over the last few years in gaming has been an epidemic of developers giving black folk or people of color that old yee ass haircut, excuse my language. The like, I don't even know what the hairstyle is actually called. I don't know the official name for this haircut, but I call it the Killmonger cut. I'm pretty sure. See, I think the exaggerated swagger of a okay, I'm gonna stop. But I do think this hairstyle, we gotta stop. It looked good on Killmonger, and I know that everybody loves that character from Black Panther. I love that character from Black Panther. I think he's fire. But I'm gonna be honest with you. This cut ain't the one, guys. We gotta stop. I want to start boycotting. I want to start a boycott for this haircut. If there's a game that is being developed and it's got the Killmonger cut in it, stop. We gotta stop them. But anyway, moving on. I do think Dragon Age of Veilguard, my prediction is that it will win. Moving on, we have Games for Impact, for a thought-provoking game with a pro, social meaning, or message. And I don't know anything about most of these games except for this one, Senua Saga. I never played Tales of Kinzera, Zao. I never played Life is Strange Double Exposure because I didn't want to be exposed the first time. I never played Neva, but it still looks cool. I never played Indica, and I also never played Closer the Distance. I don't know why I said it like that with a Z instead of an S, but I kind of like it that way. Now, right off the top, the only game on this list that I have any awareness of, other than Intro to Creative Writing, which starts here soon, as I've been reminded doubly. I honestly cannot give an opinion on this category. You know, I'm trying to be funny, I'm trying to make a joke or whatever, but I can't give an opinion just because I haven't played any of these games. And like the only game that I do know anything about and that I've cared about on this list is Senua's Saga. So I think in terms of popularity, Life is Strange will probably get tossed a vote. I don't know if that's true. I just know people love the first Life is Strange. I thought it was good. I almost feel like I was too exposed to that game. Like I remember when it came out, I was really excited about it. And I love the game, but it's like the more time that I spent with it, the more that I was like, yeah, I don't really dig this all that much. Whatever game wins this category, I think Life is Strange has a good shot. I'm just going to go with that. Now, looking at the best ongoing, awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time. What game does that? Let's look at the list. Final Fantasy XIV. Now, I think this has honestly probably not a great shot because I don't know if any MMO is going to have a solid shot at Game of the Year or at like winning a category. I'm going to be honest with you. But I do know that it has a loyal and rather large player base, so there's that. I don't know anyone who plays Destiny 2, or maybe I do, but they don't talk about it at least. I think Fortnite, I don't know. I don't know if Fortnite's got a good shot, but I do know that Fortnite has been doing some like different things lately that are pretty cool. So I think Helldivers is honestly the most reasonable choice to pick in this category. Shout out Helldivers, by the way. Best community support, recognizing a game for outstanding community support, transparency, and responsiveness, inclusive of social media activity and game updates / patches, Baldur's Gate, Baldur's Gate 3, Be Jizzle Thrizzle, and Baldur's Gate. But with an honorable mention to No Man's Sky. What up, Hello Games? Best independent game for outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside of the traditional publisher system. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. Never played that. Balatro, again, did not play. Never played it. UFO 50. Never played. And Animal Well. I never played. I don't really know how to really like rate this or like predict what's gonna win in this. Neva has been in so many categories though. I think it's the underdog. So I'm gonna have to go with Neva. Best debut indie game for the best debut created by a new independent studio. I think Pacific Drive has a good shot in this one. I never heard of the Plucky Squire. I also think Manor Lords has a good shot. And that's outside of, you know, the other ones like Balatro and Animal Well. Pacific Drive, I saw so much content on that I was tempted to look at the game. I still don't really know what it's about. Beyond like, I think I saw like a Twitch stream on it like once by Splattercat Gaming. And that's probably about it. And then Manor Lords, I've seen some videos on. I actually have been like tempted to buy Manor Lords, but my pick honestly would be for Manor Lords to win best indie game debut. Best mobile game, I have to go with Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket. I've been addicted to it. I'm biased, and I'm not gonna hide that from you. It's been an incredible journey trying to collect all of the EX Pokemon cards. I already got Charizard. I already got Mewtwo. Pikachu though, where you at? I never played these other ones. I've never even really heard of these other ones except for AFK Journey. But, you know, I imagine that they're pretty solid. Best VR/AR. I've been seeing a lot of people playing Batman Arkham Shadows. I don't know if it's going to win, but I just watched The Penguin recently. And The Penguin takes place in Gotham City. And Batman also is in Gotham City. So just off of that, I got to give it to Batman. All jokes aside, I never played any of these games or have like seen them. I just know that Batman Arkham Shadow, it seems to be the most popular just off the fact that I have heard about it and I am not a VR game person at all. So I would say it's probably got the best shot of winning just off of brand, like its brand and all that. Best action game. For the best game in the action genre, focused primarily on combat. There is Warhammer 40k, Space Marines 2, I don't think it's gonna win. I'm gonna be honest. Though I have heard that people enjoy the game. Stellar Blade, I've heard great things about. Helldivers 2, heard great things about. Black Ops 6, I don't know. I'm gonna have to talk to Raven Crossing about that. He's more up on the kind of Call of Duty and Black Ops and all that stuff. He's into that stuff more than I am, at least. All I know is I've been seeing people do crazy like parkour tricks and stuff in that game, and it scares me a little bit. I don't know if it scares you guys that play the game, but it does scare me. And then there's Black Myth Wukong, which is the game that I have seen the most media on. And I would have to say that I think the best action game, I think it's got to go to like Stellar Blade. What I have seen of Stellar Blade, it's so reminiscent of Nier Automata for me, but like way more intentionality when it comes to the combat, that I think it's got a good shot. I think the realistic win is Helldivers 2. I think that they're probably going to take it. Yeah, that's just off the fact that I don't think Black Ops 6 has it, and I don't think Warhammer 40k is nearly popular enough to a general populace, or like to like the general gaming world, that it's really got a shot. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Best action adventure. For the best action adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving, Astrobot. It's simple. I think Astrobot, being a platformer and such a well-known platformer at this point, given its popularity this last year, I think it makes it the obvious winner of this category. Though I do think Star Wars Outlaws has a good shot. I'm kidding. It's a Ubisoft game. When it comes to gaming publishers, there's not a publisher that I dislike more than Ubisoft. The amount of games that I've bought from Ubisoft, and it's all my fault. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I don't like Ubisoft, having never played a Ubisoft game. No, it's the fact that I've bought so many Ubisoft games to have been tricked and swindled and given the same game with a different reskin. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. I think that Ubisoft, I'm not gonna lie, we need to burn it to the ground. I'm calling for violence in the gaming community. Violence. All jokes aside though, please, if you know someone who works at Ubisoft, do not hurt them. Okay, I just went on a whole rant about how violence should be committed against Ubisoft as an entity, not any individuals. And I'm probably going to cut it out of the video because it was a joke, but I think it was like a little too spicy for YouTube. But that said, looking at Star Wars Outlaws and the joke that I made about them winning, I don't think they will. And that's just off the fact that Ubisoft, I don't think they put out a good game in probably like the last, I don't know, 10 years. That's probably not pretty accurate. I don't keep up with Ubisoft that much, but I do know that Ubisoft is if I see a game, even if it is like my favorite franchise, or like if it could be one of my favorite properties in the world. If I see that Ubisoft has put their name on it, I'm not touching it. I'm like, all right, well, that's an L that I'm not willing to take. There you have it. But Astrobot is cooking when it comes to this category. Best RPG, for the best game designed with rich player character customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experiences. Out of this lineup, we got Dragon's Dogma 2, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. I'm gonna be real. Though I like some of the systems in Dragon's Dogma 2, I don't even think it should be up here. I'm gonna be honest with you. That game's not finished. I don't think we should be letting unfinished games like enter this kind of running. You know, I like the initial concept of Dragon's Dogma 2, but they just couldn't deliver. It's the same thing. For whatever reason, they just couldn't deliver. They didn't deliver in the first game until the DLC came out and like polished some things up, and they didn't deliver in this game. I think it's got a good base, but you know, having a good skeleton of a game is not the same thing as just having a good game. So for me, when it comes to the best RPG, I think honestly the three that I'm looking at is Metaphor, Shadow of the Erdtree, and Rebirth. I didn't play Infinite Wealth, so I don't know. My prediction is that it will go to Final Fantasy VII. Just because people love Final Fantasy VII. I've said it once, I'll say it again. I'll probably say it a million more times. I do think that this game, if it wins in a category, it's just the fact that it's so popular. It's probably the most recognizable game in the whole lineup just off of its name alone. And I don't think that's a bad thing. but I do think that the other games have to work a little bit harder to get that recognition. And I think the only game that really does get that recognition, or like deserves it at least, for doing something new is honestly Metaphor. When I think of an RPG, this is the kind of game that I think about. This is kind of like the pinnacle of what an RPG could be in my mind, at least in the style that it's going for. Yeah, my personal pick is Metaphor. I think the realistic winner of this category is Final Fantasy VII. Now, best fighting, for the best game designed primarily around head-to-head combat, I think looking at the lineup, oh, I was like, wait, they got a Powerpuff Girl game, but no, it's just Multiverses. Which is that Skinamarink? I didn't even know that that was like, is WB? That can't be Skinamarink. I'm sorry. Like, let's take a moment to talk about that. I'm gonna be real with y'all. For those of you who said that Skinamarink was the scariest film you've ever seen, Kingrevolt and I watched Skinamarink, got about 15 minutes in, and realized that it was likely going to be a major waste of time. And I get the stylistic choice of making a film like that. I understand it. It's just not for me. It's just not for me. But moving on from that, we've got Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Grand Blue Fantasy, Marvel vs. Capcom, and Tekken 8. I think the best, like probably most polished game in this lineup is probably Tekken 8. But I think the game that is likely going to win, I honestly think it's Marvel vs. Capcom. It's between Marvel vs. Capcom and Tekken 8. I don't really think people are into multiverses like that right now. And I think Sparking Zero has enough problems with the game that like it's going to keep it from winning the best fighting game. And here's the thing as well with Sparking Zero. It's not that it's a bad game. It almost feels like there's like, it's really polished in some areas, but not polished in other areas. So it gives this feeling of just overall not being complete and not being a full package that you'd expect when playing the next Tenkaichi game. And so I do think that if Sparking Zero came out like this month in November, it'd be a different conversation. But, you know, basically being 2 months out, coming out 2 months before the Game Awards actually come out, I don't really think it's got a shot. I think people who were playing the game, who enjoyed it, are no longer playing the game or enjoying it. I mean, even me, like, I'm not gonna keep, my last video on Sparking Zero is probably gonna be my last video on Sparking Zero. I might hop on sometime in like a live stream or something, but overall, like, it's not really a game that I anticipate having a huge amount of sway in the gaming industry as a fighting game, at least, which is unfortunate, but that's coming from somebody who's played the game. Anyway, best family. For the best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform, The Plucky Squire, The Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom, Super Mario Party, Jamboree, Princess Peach, Showtime, and Astrobot. I think Astrobot's taking this one. Best sim strategy game, focused on real-time or turn-based simulation or strategy gameplay, irrespective of platform. I think the best strategy game here, honestly, I know a lot of people have been talking about Unicorn Overlord. I haven't played it. I don't really know anything about the game, but I have heard of Manor Lords. And I think Manor Lords is probably going to take the W in this category. That's my prediction. If Unicorn Overlord, you know, is a sleeper hit, though, I wouldn't be too surprised. But I do think Manor Lords, it's a game that more people would have played, generally speaking. Best sports or racing game. I don't really play sports games. I don't really like racing games, so I can't speak to this all that much. But, you know, there's John Cena. No, there's John Cena, and there's The Rock. So WWE 2K24. Yay. I think, I don't know. I don't know enough about the category to really speak on that. That is literally the one category I have no idea what could win. Best multiplayer, for outstanding multiplayer gameplay and design, including co-op and massively multiplayer experiences, irrespective of game genre or platform. Just off of like the general buzz, I think it's got to be Helldivers 2. I think Warhammer 40K is still too niche of a game to win best multiplayer, so my pick is Helldivers 2 as the winner of this category. Best adaptation, recognizing outstanding creative work that faithfully and authentically adapts a video game to another entertainment medium. It's not like a Dragon Yakuza. I'm sorry for those of you who thought it would be. I'm also sorry for past me who held out hope for this show, but Make sure these stay on. So I think Knuckles, it's a little too niche. I think of a show for people who aren't into Sonic, they didn't watch this. And I don't really think anybody who's not into Sonic really even heard or talked about this show. Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft. I never heard of, I never really saw like if it was good or not. So I can't speak to that. I also didn't hear any buzz on it. I think it really comes down between Arcane and Fallout. I think Arcane has like a lot more recency bias to it. Personally, it's a show that I would never watch. Not only do I dislike League of Legends, it's just, I don't know, like it's a game, it's a game that I don't care about. It's a show that I don't care about. When the first season came out, I know people loved it. And here's the thing. I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm not saying that Arcane is bad, right? Because I don't think it is. Just because I don't like something doesn't mean it's bad. I will say it is, at least on first impressions, it's a little too, and this is going to sound like probably weird, it's a little too anime for me. And I love anime, but it's like very, I don't know, it just feels kind of generic in my opinion. But maybe I shouldn't have said that. I don't want to get flamed in the comments for that. I know I will. But Arcane, if you like it, cool, have fun with it. I know the second season, I think, is out right now. Go watch it, have a blast with it. I'm not going to. Fallout, I think, probably has the best shot without any bias. There's so many people who had no idea what Fallout was. People that didn't even play video games that talked to me about Fallout. They're like, hey, you should go watch that new Fallout show. I think it's based on a game or something, but like, I don't know. The show's really cool though. And the fact that that happened, like just on the streets, I think says a lot about Fallout. Now, I never finished the show. I did get a couple episodes in. Again, it's just not really a show that I care too much about. So I never watched it all the way through. But what I did see was pretty good. And that's the thing. Like I said, just because I don't like something doesn't mean that it's not good. Arcane, I never had even an inkling of an interest to watch. Fallout, I had a little bit of an interest to watch, and I just didn't stick with it. I think Arcane is probably gonna best adaptation just because it is more new than any of these other shows. But I do think Fallout has a pretty good shot as well. Most anticipated game, looking at GTA 6, Ghost of Yotai, Death Stranding 2, A2, A Game of Thrones, Metroid Prime 4, Beyond. I didn't even know that they were making another one. I know the last one that they made, the trailer for it was straight terrifying. And then Monster Hunter Wild. Guys, what are we talking about? It's Grand Theft Auto 6. I think that is legitimately the most anticipated game of probably the last like decade or more. I think not more. When did I don't remember when GTA 5 came out, 2012, 2013, something like that. But I do think Grand Theft Auto 6 easily clears the rest of these games. I think Ghost of Yote is honestly probably like the close second to that, just because people love Ghost of Tsushima. I love Ghost of Tsushima. I think it's a fantastic game. And then Death Stranding 2 on the beach, it's a game. The first one's a game. I can't really speak to that, and I can't really speak to the other ones because I don't really know how to gauge the popularity. I haven't heard anything other than maybe Monster Hunter. But yeah, GTA 6, I think that is going to sweep this category. Creator of the Year, we got Queso, Io Wan, Techo Gamers, Typical Gamer, and Usada Pecora for the streamer or content creator who's made the most important and positive impact on a community in the year of our Lord 2024. The one that I've heard about the most is Queso. He's from my state, I'm pretty sure. I think Queso's from Arkansas. I don't know for a fact if that's the case, but I've heard a lot about Queso. I know the kids rock with Queso. And then also on top of that, Typical Gamer. I used to watch Typical Gamer like all through middle school and high school. I was an OG Typical Gamer fan. I think realistically, it's probably going to be Queso. My bias makes me want my boy TG to win. So we'll just have to see. My prediction is for Queso, though. Best esports game. For the game that's delivered the best overall esports experience, League of Legends, Mobile Legends Bang Bang, Valorant, Dota 2, and Counter-Strike 2. I think it's going to be Valorant that takes this category. That is my prediction. I don't know any esports athletes, so I'm gonna just go with the one who looks the coolest to me, who's got the most aura. And right off the bat is this dude. Look at the killer instinct in his eye. Look at the stance, the way that his hand gently grips his arm. Look at the ice on his wrist. My boy here, he looks a little scared. He doesn't know why his picture's getting taken. I don't even know what he's showing off, right? And the rest of these fools, bro's got a lovely wife and child. You know what I'm saying? Bro is regularly paying his taxes. So yeah, I gotta go with my boy, ZMJJKK. That's a crazy name though. That's a crazy name. That instantly deducted like 40 points off the score. But listen, once he changes the name, I think my boy got it. I wish I knew more about esports, but it's just not something that I really care about all that much. Best esports team? I'm gonna go with the one that has the most aura. See, this looks like the esports team that I would expect to see like at my university. So does this one, right? They just got straight swag. And then I think these guys, they're doing it a little bit crazy too. They got the blue stripes and everything. But they also play League of Legends. I'm still go with them though. I rock with them a little bit more. And then player choice, which has not opened yet. Anyway, guys, that was me, King Revolt, going through each and every category of the 2024 Video Game Awards nominee. And honestly, the only one that I voted on was Game of the Year, because I truly do think that is my Game of the Year. My prediction is that it won't win, right? But my hope in my heart is that it does. Beyond Game of the Year, which is the only one that I voted on, we of course will have to come and take a look again at these other categories. But without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to be a member of the Demon Clan. Make sure you stay hydrated, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.